Tucci, and you're watching Invest Comics TV. Booyah.
This is Rick Osmond, and I'm here with Jamal Igle for Invest Comics TV. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Jamal?
You got it exactly.
Excellent. I sometimes fail at that part, but nevertheless, Jamal has been an artist through a number of different comic book companies and a number of different titles and characters. Would you like to tell us about that? And is that a cat?
Yes, that's my cat. My old cranky French cat, Lucy. Yes. Hey, Lou. So, let's see. Well, I've been exclusive to DC for the last 6 years. I've worked on Firestorm. I was on Firestorm for 2 years. I just finished up a 2-year run on Supergirl. I was also the artist on Nightwing for a while. Tangent Superman's Reign, Green Lantern. I'm trying to think. I've done a little bit of everything. Martian Manhunter, 52, Countdown, some Infinite Crisis stuff. Before that, I was primarily a freelancer. I think I've worked for pretty much every company except for Dark Horse. So, yeah, I've been around for a while. I've been penciling comics for about 16 years and working in the industry for about 21.
Wow. That's a pretty good history. So, is penciling the only thing you do, or do you expand out into inking, coloring, and?
I've done some inking. I'm not very good in terms of computer coloring, but I do some color work with marker and paint and that sort of thing. But not as often as I'd like to, and not as often as the opportunity would present itself. So primarily I'm a penciler right now. I also do some writing as well.
Okay. Well, what do you write? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I'm working on a couple of screenplays right now, a couple of comedies. They're in the very early stages, so I can't talk about them. I've written some comics, or co-written some comics, some stuff that my name is attached to and some stuff that my name isn't attached to. But that's, again, it's over the last few years, it's really been difficult to get back to doing regular writing, although, I do plan to do some more pitching, to DC, while I'm still under contract. And, but I've got ideas for other, characters at other companies. And, it's just been, the penciling side is sort of taken up most of my time, and then I got married. I became a father over the last few years. So, whatever free time I have is I'm spending with my wife and my daughter.
Good plan. It is. I mean, it saves your personal life from being an absolute wreck. Believe me, I know. So you penciled Supergirl, which, as I mentioned before we actually started recording, I go back to comics in the 60s. I think I started reading comics just before Neil Adams started drawing comics. So,
okay.
If that tells you anything. Anyway, the Supergirl was one that has a very long history, in excess of 45 years as a character.
Right.
And how is it to come up to a legendary character and take it over? Did you find any resistance, or what was that like?
Not resistance at first. I was, I'll be honest and say that I was hesitant initially to take on the project, and not having anything to do with the character, but just whenever you're coming onto a project, you really should think over whether or not it's something that you want to pursue, whether or not it's something that will benefit you in the long run. I came into the Supergirl basically being yanked off another miniseries that was supposed to run 12 issues. Well, I shouldn't say yanked. Basically, it was presented to me as, dude, do you really want to keep drawing Tangent Superman's Reign? You could be doing Supergirl right now. So when I was offered Supergirl, I really I did have to think about it a little bit because I don't really like leaving projects in the middle. I really don't like abandoning things. And when I first got into the book, I was thinking that I'd probably be on for 6 issues and then I'd be out. And then I ended up, doing 22 of, Sterling Gates' 27 issues.
Yeah.
Along with, doing, World's Finest, initial World's Finest, and doing, the first issue of War of the Supermen. So it was a pretty lengthy run, especially once we hit issue 50, which was a double-sized issue on top of everything else. So it just, I weighed the pros and cons initially and decided the pros won out. And then as I was working on the book, I started making little tweaks to the costume with, the blessing from editorial, and not a lot of people noticed at first, but then I guess around issue 39, I don't think it's a significant addition, but a few people take it, and I revealed that she was actually wearing a skirt rather than just a skirt, or it was miscolored as a different color pair of shorts. So suddenly the people who didn't like me being on the book glommed onto that idea of, he's trying to, make her conservative. He's trying to take away the sexiness of the character, to which my response is she's supposed to be a 16-year-old girl. I don't know how sexy you want to portray a 16-year-old girl, but that's up to you. There was something that I had talked to Matt Idelson about, the editor on the book, initially, and just something that I sort of just slipped in. I didn't talk about it, but what ended up happening was I was at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we were doing a DCU panel. There was a young lady who stood up in a panel and thanked me for putting shorts on Supergirl. Now, this is what will tell you how under the radar it was, because Ian Sadler, who at that time was the editorial coordinator, had no idea what she was talking about.
Wow.
And in the middle of the night, I had explained to him, we put these little shorts, and he's like, okay. So then Matt Brady, who used to be with Newsarama, approached me about doing an interview, and I did this quick little interview for Newsarama that ended up getting picked up by NPR. And then ended up getting picked up by all these feminist blogs, and ended up getting we had started having to turn down interviews from the newspapers, and so that became, it became the shorts. It became all about Supergirl shorts suddenly, rather than about, what we were doing on the book. Exactly. And, I've always tried to push it back towards character rather than costume, because the whole idea behind it is that, she's a superhero.
Yeah.
She's supposed to, at least in my mind, and I've been accused of being old-fashioned in this line of thinking, but, she's a teenage superhero. I would prefer her, especially since, I am a fan of the pre-crisis Supergirl. I guess that was my part in kind of bringing some of those elements back into the character that I felt had been taken away.
Sure, I understand completely. Let's go to a little bitty break. Hold that thought, and we'll be right back.
All systems are functional.
I'm going to pass the reins to Mr. Jackal, the new king of radio.
Is there life on other planets?
This is nuclear physicist Stanton Friedman, and now I'm a voice in the Jackal's head.
Is the government keeping secrets from us?
This is Stephen Bassett, and I am now a voice inside the Jackal's head.
Want to find out more? Listen to the Jackal's Head on the Super Media Network.
The biggest trick the Jackal ever pulled was to convince the world that he doesn't exist.
Okay, and we're back with Jamal Igle. Jamal, you worked Supergirl for a number of years, actually, and you worked with Sterling Gates, correct?
That is correct.
And when you started with that, you didn't really know Sterling with that project, correct?
No, he hadn't done that much. I think he did a couple of issues of Green Lantern Corps, and then he did a backup story in one of the Sinestro Corps War specials. I met him in passing at a convention, and literally, they tell me that he's the writer, and I'm like, who the hell is Sterling Gates? Yeah. So that sort of added to my hesitation, but it ended up working out because Sterling's just a really talented writer, and I think he's got a terrific career ahead of him. I think he's got a long, terrific career, and I know at least one of the things that he has coming up. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be really, really happy that he's working on this. So I wish, Sterling's become a really good friend over the last couple of years, and I wish him nothing but success. And, again, even though we're not working on Supergirl anymore, anytime that he would want to work with me on something, I would jump at the opportunity.
Excellent. So in addition to your contract with DC, once upon a time you did some stuff for Marvel. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I worked with Jay Ferber on, we did New Warriors. We did 4 issues of New Warriors when he was writing that. And then when that got canceled, we ended up doing a 4-issue Iron Fist Wolverine miniseries. And that was a very weird period for me because I had actually moved to Los Angeles at that point. I was working in animation when Marvel called me up. And, having lived in New York my entire life up until that point, it was odd for me to be living in LA and working for a company that I just as easily could have worked for living in New York City. But it was part of this long period. I was out there for a year and a half and I was miserable. I was lonely and depressed and, working by myself for the first time in years. And, I had fun with it, but, looking back on it now, it was also the first time that I'd ever done any monthly comic book work at that point. This was 99, 2000. Everything else that I had done before that was miniseries and stuff that I could take my time on. So I hadn't really had any opportunities to have to crank out a page of artwork a day or 2 pages of artwork a day. And there was a lot of pressure for me at the time, and just heaped on my general depression anyway. It really wasn't the best of periods, but, I tried to make it work as much as possible. And the thing that came out of it, more than just the work itself, was just, my relationship with Jay Ferber, which, since then, we had worked on some, one of his creator-owned series, Noble Causes. We did some stuff with that. I wish I had the opportunity to do more with him on that. We also did, another creator-owned series that went 4 issues for Image called Venture that we had developed, and it was a good period. I mean, after post Marvel, it was a good period. While I was there, not so much. Yeah. But it's I have a ton of good friends who are working there, so and I'm in a much different place as an artist and as a person now than I was then.
Sure.
So I think at some point, when DC gets tired of working with me, I'd like to make the move over to Marvel.
Okay.
Here's a riddle for you. What do the California gold rush of the 1850s, secret societies, coded messages, mysterious 19th century flying machines, and an early 20th century outside artist named Charles A. Delshaw all have in common? The Secrets of Delshaw by Dennis Crenshaw and Pete Navarro. Go to www.secretsofdelshaw.com to learn more.